Welcome back to my channel. I am Emma and I am your kettlebell coach. Today we are doing a kettlebell for legs workout. It is a booty or glute workout, meaning we are working the whole backside of the body. But like any good coach, I am also including a little bit of front side of the body work just to make sure we're evened out. Today's kettlebell workout is going to show you how even though kettlebells aren't the heaviest tool you might have available to you, they are a great option for legs if you do approach them in the right way. So today's workout, we're going to leverage things like unilateral exercises, meaning taking our exercises to one leg. So what the weight you had in front of you immediately feels twice as heavy. We are also going to increase the time under tension, meaning we're going to take our exercises slowly or keep our bodies in a flexed position for a longer period of time. And finally, we are going to include some isometric holds at the hardest part of some of these exercises, meaning you're going to do an exercise and then you're going to, at the top of it, hold for a certain amount of time. So with those things in mind, today's workout, when you pick up your weight, you should feel like rep 1 is a 6 out of 10 on the rate of perceived effort scale, right? You want to say to yourself, I could do this exercise, but I couldn't do it for that long. Like, it is hard from the jump. And then by the end of the set, I want you to be working in an 8 out of 10, saying, pretty soon my form's gonna break. I don't know how many more reps I have in me, if any. So that is how hard you should be working. If with the weight you have available to you today, you do not feel that level of effort is being put in, I want you to either increase your rep count, and it's kind of up to you to decide what that's gonna look like, or slow down the tempo and take your time with each rep, counting maybe 1, 2, 3 counts for each portion of the exercise and really getting a burn in each and every stage of that movement. The format of today's workout is going to be a demonstration. I will give you the rep count and sets of each exercise or set of exercises, and then I will show you how to do it. At the end of each demonstration, you can pause the video and go ahead and do it on your own, or you can watch this whole thing through and then get right to it. Before we get going, if you are going to just immediately start following along and then pausing the video at the right point, I'd recommend doing a quick glute warm-up. You can check it out, my go-to core and glute activation warm-up up here, or you can just drop down on the ground and do some glute bridges, single leg glute bridges, glute marching, dead bugs, 90-90 heel taps, beast hold. If you worked out with me before, you know what these things are. Just make sure the core and the glutes are on and firing. Let's get going. For today's workout, you're going to want to use 2 kettlebells. Ideally, 2 fairly heavy ones. They can be mismatched. That's totally fine. There's actually one exercise that favors mismatched bells. Just make sure you have 2 heavy ones available to you. If not, you can modify and just use 1, but 2 is better. So for our first 2 exercises, we are going to do a superset of kickstand deadlifts and heavy kettlebell swings. Those kickstand deadlifts look like this. I put my bells on either side of my front foot. Back leg is behind me and I'm up on the ball of the foot. Just do a quick little test here and see if when you bend your knee, if that rear knee comes in line more or less with the back of the front heel. As long as that's happening, we're good. What we don't want to have happen is it to be like a lunge. So we want to have that foot closer rather than farther away. Now the front leg is going to be doing the majority of the work here. You're going to hinge those hips way back. And you can see here my back is coming towards the floor. That's how I know I'm in a hip hinge. My core is engaged. I'm going to grab both of those kettlebells, squeeze my shoulder blades down my back, and stand up. And then you lower down over that front leg and stand up. You should really feel the glute or the butt cheek on that front leg working over time. And it's the back leg's job just to help add some balance. And you want to make sure that that back knee is not shaking, because we're actually strengthening the rear knee as we do this exercise. Keep that front toe grounded as you go up and down, and you're going to do 8 to 10 reps per side. So you can see I'm already out of breath. I probably picked a weight that's a little heavy for my demonstration, but you do want to feel that taxed by just a few reps here. So 8 to 10 on one leg, rest for 30 seconds if you need to, 8 to 10 on the other leg, and you can see what it looks like here. Again, my back foot, I'm up on the ball of it. The front foot, I'm pressing all of my toes into the ground. Hinge down and stand up. pressing through that front grounded leg. Now, if you have mismatched bells, I want you to put your heavier bell in place of the foot that's back and your lighter bell on the outside. And if you only have one bell, you're going to put it in place of that rear foot. The second exercise you're going to do is a heavy kettlebell swing. So for me, I would now increase that weight, right? I had 2 slightly lighter weights, now I'm going heavier because we're just doing 10 reps. If you don't know how to do a kettlebell swing, check out the link up here that explains everything you need to know. But assuming you have an idea of what we're doing, it is a hip hinge. We're gonna get 1 foot's distance away from the bell. My back foot comes behind it. Now I'm 2 feet away from the bell. And then I assume my kettlebell swing stance, which for me is about as wide as a yoga mat. So if you're on a yoga mat, that might be a good place to start. You're going to take a big exhale and send your hips towards your ribs towards your hip bones. Hinge the hips back. We make a triangle where our shoulders are over the hips, hips are over the knees, and then you gaze slightly in front of you. Core is on. Inhale as you hike the bell back. Exhale as you go forward. Continuous swings with a bell that is heavy enough to challenge you. Inhale down, exhale up, and make sure that your shoulders are staying above your hips with each swing. All right, and a long flat back. And then we park the bell. 10 reps. Rest 30 seconds to a minute between exercises here. You are going to do 3 to 5 rounds of this in total. So just to review, that's 8 to 10 kickstand deadlifts per leg, 30 seconds of rest if you need it, 10 heavy swings, 30 to 60 seconds of rest before you go on to the next round. Our next 2 exercises are a weighted glute bridge with an isometric hold. So we're now taking advantage of that isometric hold that I talked about where we actually hold in place for a period of time. So we'll be doing glute bridges on the floor with a kettlebell and an isometric hold. And then the superset to that is an offset sumo squat. So if you have mismatched weights, you'll want to take the 1 lighter weight and 1 heavier weight, and we'll be doing squats with those. So for these hip thrusts, if you have an extra yoga mat or pillow, or really just anything that can add a little bit of padding to your hips, I would suggest it. You can also use a dumbbell for this, which can make it easier. And I would select your heaviest weight available to you. And then we're going to lie down, and that kettlebell is right about on my pubic bone, and I'm holding it with my hands so it's not grinding into me too much. And then I take a big exhale, press my lower back into the floor, get my core on, squeeze my glutes, and then lift my hips up, and I'm gonna count to 3 here and come down. 1, 2, 3. Inhale on the floor, exhale up. 1, 2, 3. Inhale down, exhale up. 1, 2, 3. And you will feel your glutes start to shake and burn as you go. So we're going for 10 reps with that 3-second hold at the top and down. Something you want to be mindful of here is that your knees aren't caving in on each other. We want to make sure that the knees aren't going in, or that you're not so wide that your knees are also going out. We really want those knees tracking in line right with your toes, and holding for that 3, 2, 1, keeping the whole core zipped up the entire time. This one's not the most graceful to get in and out of, but don't worry. As long as you just roll to the side, you'll be able to push that weight off of you. So now the superset. I would take that heavier weight that I just did the hip thrust with, or maybe a more moderate weight, and then the lighter weight. And standing over these kettlebells, I want you to clean up the lighter weight, get it into a front rack position, and then we're gonna take a sumo stance, meaning nice wide feet, and our knees track over the feet. This is a totally acceptable squat stance. It's a sumo squat. Then I'm going to bend the knees to squat down. You see my torso stays fairly upright. I grab that bell, and now with one hand in a suitcase stance, the other in a front rack, inhale down, exhale up. Torso stays nice and upright. My knees track right over those toes. and my torso stays as up as possible. So you're going to go for about 5 reps per side here. So after you do one side, you'll swap the weights and go to the other. Now I'm going to turn to the side just so you can see what this looks like from the side. Get that weight cleaned up. Reach down, grab the kettlebell, and you can see I'm not leaning forward. This isn't a deadlift. I'm really sending the knees out to the side, almost like a plie if you've ever done a ballet class before. And you should feel it in the outer glute. Inhale as you go down and exhale as you come up. So we are doing 10 hip thrusts with that 3-second pause at the top, and then you're going to take 30 seconds rest if you need it. Follow up with 4 to 5 offset sumo squats on each side. Again, you can take 30 seconds per side if you need it. And then you should take 30 to 60 seconds rest before you repeat this entire thing again for another 3 to 5 rounds. Our last 2 exercises are utilizing unilateral movements, meaning single-sided movements, and time under tension. Both of these exercises require you to stay in a flexed position for the entire duration of the reps or for a very long rep. So the first movement you're going to do is something I don't really have a name for, but we go from a dead stop lunge to a squat to standing, and you do not get a break. So I'm just going to demonstrate it, then I'll explain how to do it. You are going to want to come to a tall kneeling position, and you'll clean your kettlebell up. From here, you hold it in a goblet rack and pick a lighter weight for this, or maybe no weight if it's too difficult with a weight. And what you're going to do is take your right leg and bring it up so you're in a low lunge position. And then I want you to take your left leg and come right into a deep squat and then stand up. And then that left leg goes back, the right leg goes back. Now our left leg comes up, we keep the core engaged. Right leg comes up so you land in a low squat and then you stand up and that right leg goes back. So I'm going to put this down because it is very tiring to do and talk at the same time. But what is happening is you're going from a tall kneeling position with your hips extended and your core engaged. You're holding that kettlebell, and then you lift one leg up, you lift the other leg to come into a squat, and then use those glutes to stand up. And then the second leg to move is the one that goes back and then come down. And then you can switch sides. So other leg comes up into a low lunge. Then we're in the bottom of a squat. Core is on and you use those glutes to stand up, and the second leg to stand up is the first one to go down, and then back to the start. You're going to do 3 to 5 of these on each leg. So if you have a hard time remembering to switch, do all on one side and then all on the other, but if you can go back and forth, I would suggest going back and forth. It's a little bit of a break, but it does take a lot of brain power to get it right. So next you will stand up and you will grab 2 of your weights if you have them that are on the lighter side. You don't want to go insanely heavy with this, and we are going to do a pulsing split squat. So 1 foot behind the other, similar to that kickstand deadlift position, but now instead of hinging at the hip and only taking as much knee bend as necessary, you are only going to bend at the knees. So I'm going to show you with that weight first. You're going to engage your core. Just my arms are out here for the sake of you being able to see my legs. And then I just bend the knees to come down and stand up. And that front leg is going to work really hard here. So this is different from the deadlift because my knees are the primary mover. So this is what the pulsing split squat looks like. And this is what the kickstand deadlift looks like, just to be very clear. So you'll have your kettlebells on either side of you, pick them up, and then from here, shoulders go down the back, squeeze those shoulder blades together, core is on, and you pulse up and down. And this position keeps the body under tension for the entire set. So we're going to go for 5 to 8 per side. That front leg is working hard, and then you can either go straight into the other side, or you can put your kettlebells down for 30 seconds and take a little bit of rest. And make sure your front knee is tracking over your front foot. You don't want that front knee to wobble in or out. And then put them down, and you will rest 30 to 60 seconds before you go on to another round, and I would recommend 3 rounds of this as a finisher. Congratulations on making it through the workout. If you've made it to the end, I know you're sweating, I know your legs are tired, and I know your butt's gonna be sore tomorrow. And if you haven't actually started the workout yet, just a quick recap of what you're going to be doing. It's also written in the notes below, but you're going to be doing 3 supersets of exercise. This means you'll do 1 exercise followed immediately by the other. The first superset of exercises are kickstand deadlifts and heavy kettlebell swings. The next superset of exercises are glute bridges with a kettlebell on your hips in an isometric hold and offset sumo squats. The third set of exercises are that kneeling to lunge to squat to standing position, 3 to 5 on each side, and then a pulsing split squat with 5 to 8 on each side. Take your time with these exercises. Make sure you check out the reps and sets in the notes. They were also written over the words here. And if you're looking for a kettlebell coach, please reach out to me. You can find my contact information on my website, and you can find me on Instagram. Please always feel free to DM me. As always, like this video, subscribe to my page, and thank you so much for joining me.